The evening began like many others, quiet and predictable. Michael came home just after 7 carrying the weight of another long day. The house smelled of dinner and something familiar that once felt comforting. His wife Laura was in the kitchen, her back turned as she stirred a pot and spoke about small things. She asked about his work and complained about traffic. Michael answered, automatically hanging his coat and loosening his tie. Their words moved easily but without depth, like a routine practiced too many times. At the table they ate together, listening to the low sound of the television. Laura laughed at a joke on the screen a little too loudly. Michael noticed it and wondered when her laughter had started to feel distant. After dinner Laura said she needed to take a call and stepped outside into the yard. Michael watched her through the window. She stood with her phone close to her face, turning slightly away as if hiding from the house itself. The call lasted longer than usual. When she returned she smiled and said it was a colleague from work dealing with a problem. Michael nodded, though something inside him tightened. Later that night as they prepared for bed, Laura checked her phone again and again. She placed it face down on the nightstand, a habit she never had before. Michael lay awake listening to her breathing. He tried to convince himself that marriage naturally softened into quiet patterns. Yet he felt an unease he could not name. The next morning Laura left early, saying she had a meeting. Michael watched her drive away and noticed she did not look back. The day passed slowly. Michael worked from home that afternoon and decided to clean the garage. In an old box he found photographs from earlier years. He and Laura, younger and closer, smiling without effort. He wondered when that version of them slipped away. That evening Laura came home late. She apologized and said the meeting ran long. Michael asked a few questions carefully. Her answers were smooth, too smooth. He let it go, but the silence between them grew heavier. That night Michael dreamed of standing in his own house, unable to open any door. When he woke he felt certain that something had already changed. He did not yet know what it was or how deeply it would cut, but the ordinary evening had planted a doubt that would not leave him. The doubt followed Michael through the next days like a shadow that stayed just out of sight. He began to notice small changes: the way Laura guarded her phone, the way she dressed with more care even when she said she was only going to work. She started coming home later, and when she did she seemed distracted, as if her mind was somewhere else. Michael tried to talk to her, but their conversations slid along the surface, never touching what mattered. One evening he suggested they have dinner together like they used to, without the television, without distractions. Laura agreed too quickly and smiled in a way that felt rehearsed. During dinner Michael asked about her job, about her new responsibilities. Laura spoke confidently but avoided details. When he asked the name of the colleague she spent so much time with, she hesitated for just a second before answering. The pause was small, but it stayed with him. After dinner Laura said she needed to finish some work emails and went into the bedroom, closing the door. Michael remained in the living room staring at the dark screen of the television. He felt foolish for doubting her, yet he also felt foolish for ignoring the signs. Late that night Laura fell asleep quickly. Michael stayed awake watching the light from her phone screen flash once on the nightstand. He told himself it was nothing. The next afternoon Michael ran an errand near Laura's workplace. On impulse he decided to stop by to surprise her. He imagined her smile and felt almost relieved. When he asked for her at the reception desk, the woman frowned and said Laura had taken the day off. Michael thanked her and walked back to his car slowly. He sat behind the wheel, gripping it tightly. Laura had told him she had a full day of meetings. That evening when Laura came home, Michael asked casually how her day went. Laura described a busy schedule and mentioned a meeting that never existed. Michael felt the lie settle between them, solid and undeniable. He did not confront her. Instead he listened more carefully than ever before. Over the next week he noticed patterns. Certain nights she was unavailable. Certain names appeared in her messages, always disappearing quickly. Michael felt a growing sense of isolation. He could not speak to anyone about it. Admitting suspicion felt like admitting failure. One night Laura came home smelling of unfamiliar cologne. Michael asked if she had changed her perfume. She laughed and said she must have passed someone on the train. The answer sounded light, but her eyes avoided his. Michael realized that trust once cracked did not break loudly. It fractured silently. He began to question every memory, every moment of closeness. He wondered if he was fighting for a marriage that already belonged to someone else. The first lie was not just Laura words. It was the beginning of a distance that no apology could easily cross. Michael could no longer ignore what he felt. The house seemed to echo with unanswered questions. He moved through his days distracted, replaying conversations and searching for meaning in small gestures. Laura sensed the change. She asked if something was wrong, and he said he was just tired. The lie tasted bitter in his mouth. One evening he came home earlier than usual. Laura was not there. Her car was gone and she had not called. Michael sat at the kitchen table waiting. Hours passed. When she finally returned, her face showed surprise then annoyance. She asked why he was home so early. Michael asked where she had been. Laura said she went out with friends. Michael asked which friends. Laura crossed her arms and said he was interrogating her. The word cut deep. Michael said he only wanted honesty. Silence followed, heavy and final. Laura turned away and said she needed space. That night they slept on opposite sides of the bed, not touching. The next day Michael found himself standing outside a small restaurant near downtown. He had followed Laura's car without planning to. Through the window he saw her sitting across from a man. They were close. Too close to be innocent. Laura touched his hand as she spoke. Michael felt the air leave his lungs. He stood there longer than he should have, then walked away unseen. He drove aimlessly until night fell. When he returned home, Laura was already there. She looked at him with a mix of guilt and defiance. Michael told her he knew. Laura did not ask how. She sat down slowly and said she never meant for it to happen. She said she felt invisible in their marriage. She said the man made her feel alive. Michael listened numb. He asked how long. Laura said months. Each word landed with quiet cruelty. Michael asked if she loved the man. Laura hesitated and said she did not know. The answer hurt more than a clear yes would have. Michael asked if she planned to leave. Laura said she was confused. Michael realized that confusion was a luxury he did not have. He asked if she was willing to end it. Laura looked away and said she needed time. In that moment Michael understood that the truth was not a single confession but a series of choices. And hers were no longer aligned with his. That night he slept on the couch staring at the ceiling, feeling his life shift into something unrecognizable. The morning light revealed how tired they both were. Laura moved through the house quietly, gathering her things as if any sound might break something fragile. Michael watched without speaking. He felt empty rather than angry. The confrontation had drained him of the fight he thought he would have. Laura said she would stay with a friend for a while. Michael nodded. When the door closed behind her, the house felt larger and colder. Days passed in a blur. Michael went to work, answered emails, and cooked simple meals for one. At night he sat in the dark listening to the sounds of a life that no longer included her. Laura called once to ask how he was. He said he was fine. It was easier than explaining the truth. Eventually they met to talk. Laura said she had ended the affair. She said she wanted to try again. Michael listened carefully. He asked why. Laura said because she did not want to lose him. Michael realized that was not the same as choosing him. He told her he needed more than fear of loss. He needed certainty and honesty. Laura cried and said she did not know if she could give that. The answer was enough. Michael decided to leave the house for a time. He moved into a small apartment nearby. The separation gave him space to think. He began to understand how deeply betrayal reshaped a person. Trust did not simply return. It had to be rebuilt or accepted as gone. After weeks of reflection, Michael met Laura one last time. He told her he wished her well, but that he could not continue the marriage. Laura accepted it quietly. There were no dramatic words left to say. As they signed the papers, Michael felt grief, but also clarity. In the end, the marriage had taught him something important. Love required choice every day, not just promises made once. Months later, Michael returned to the old house to collect the last of his belongings. He walked through the rooms remembering both joy and pain. He locked the door for the final time and felt ready to move forward.